Hi guys, it's Amber from Amber Eats Books, and I'm here today to bring you my weekly reads video. This is the video where I discussed what I read last week, what I'm currently reading, and what I hope to read for the coming week. As you can see down here, this is my cat, Beans. You may see him and my other cat, Penny, running in and out of the frame or laying in it because this is their area to lay during most of the day. They really love it, and they have been a little feisty this morning, so they may start like play fighting and running in and out. We'll see how it goes. I'm hoping for the best. Anyway, my reading week was okay. It started off really strong. I had a couple of snow days, so I was able to get one book finished during those days, and I loved that one, and then it kind of just went downhill from there. Not that I hated anything that I read, but it wasn't as good as the week before. So we'll see how it goes, but let's get into these reviews. As always, I'm going to start with my lowest ranked and work my way up to my highest. And basically, this is going in order of how I ended the week to how I began the week. They just went down, down, down as I went through the week. My first book that I'm going to talk about is The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. I gave this book 3 stars. It is a very short book. I think it's basically just a short story. It's only 62 pages. I love short stories, especially when they're horror based or even thriller based. I just eat them up. I think they're fantastic. This one, however, for me just fell a little flat. I don't want to give too much of the premise of it, but it's basically a person who is kind of a scam artist meets this woman who thinks that her house is haunted. So she's kind of scamming her, and things kind of turn while she's trying to help this woman. It had the ability to be creepy. It really did. And I was into it. And then it just kind of fell apart towards the end. It just didn't really reach the pinnacle I wanted it to reach. It was good, just not enough creep factor, not enough horror in it, and not enough of a twist at the end for me to forgive it for not being as good as it was. I love short stories, especially horror-based or thriller-based short stories. Stephen King is my all-time favorite author. His short stories are some of my favorite works by him. So comparing this to him in a way, it just didn't really work for me. I don't know. I will say the writing itself intrigued me enough to want to pick up something else by Gillian Flynn. I have Gone Girl on my shelf, but I just don't think I'm gonna read it. I watched the movie and I have a very hard time going back and reading the book after I've watched the movie, just because I think the surprise factor and everything is kind of gone for me. So I don't know. I don't think I will be picking it up, but I definitely want to pick up something else. So maybe I'll start with another Gillian Flynn. If you guys have any recommendations on where I should begin, just leave those down below for me, because I'd love to hear what you guys have to say so I can put it on hold at my library. But yeah, this book was okay. Again, I normally say the first line of every book, but this one is a little explicit, and I know as a mother, I am listening to these videos, these booktube videos, while I am cooking and doing other things, and my kids are coming in and out of the room. So I'm probably not going to say the first line. I just don't feel comfortable enough. I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want anyone to have it on while their children are listening. So we're going to skip that, but just know that it is a memorable first line. So if that intrigues you, you might want to pick it up just for that. The next book that I picked up this week was Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I rated this 3.5 stars. As I said on my Goodreads review, if any of you follow me on there, this was kind of a mixed bag for me. I will say, let's start with the negatives for me. The negatives were, in the synopsis, it kind of told you that this was about a woman who moves from Nigeria to America and back to Nigeria, but through all of this she has this person that she fell in love with in Nigeria, and they find their way back to each other eventually. I just felt that the main plot of the story just was boring. Some of the things and some of the conversations, and it just took forever. It was so slow for me at parts. I don't know. And also, another negative that I thought was the main character She had multiple love interests in this book. It kind of spanned many, many years, so we come to know each one, and she just did not treat them well at all. And I just did not like that aspect of the book. I don't know. It just was not for me. The positives of this book were I really enjoyed the writing itself. I thought it was great. I just loved the way that it flowed and how it sounded. So I would definitely pick up something else by this author just because I like the writing style that much. And another positive, which was probably my main positive and why it even got the 3.5 stars, was it tackles some very heavy topics in this book. This woman moves from Nigeria, a country where her skin has no consequence, her skin color has no consequence, to America, where everything she does and everything she says and every action she takes is just based on her skin tone. It was just interesting to read an outside kind of perspective, because when you live in America, you start to kind of get blind to certain things. I won't even say blind, but you just don't think about them as often, especially when I'm a white woman. I don't think of those things as often as I probably should. So it was very eye-opening to read this account. I also thought it was eye-opening to read about how a person in America who is fat is definitely treated differently than a person in another country who may be fat, because not all countries have this stigma towards fat people as we do here in America. I am a person who is overweight, and I have felt that at times, and I just don't like it. Not like I'm hugely overweight, I'm just slightly overweight, and I get that. In Connecticut, it is very in to be thin and to work out, and it's just not the same as other places. And it was just eye-opening to read that account and to read how we really do that here, because it is something that is so ingrained in our culture that it's going to be hard to break away from. But I definitely want to read more books maybe on both of those topics, because those parts were so interesting in this book. But the main plot and the rest of the story just were not. The first line in this book was, Princeton in the summer smelled of nothing, and although Ifemelu, like the tranquil greenness of the many trees, the clean streets and stately homes, the delicately overpriced shops, and the quiet abiding air of earned grace, it was this, the lack of a smell, that most appealed to her, perhaps because the other American cities she knew well had all smelled distinctly. And the final book that I read this week was my favorite read of the week, and that was Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory by Caitlin Doughty. This was a nonfiction account of this woman who works in, or had worked in, a crematory. I gave this 4 stars. This was so thought-provoking. It was gruesome at times. It was hard to read a little bit because it is basically telling you exactly what happens with your body if you're going to be cremated after you die. And other aspects, it kind of delves into all other aspects, kind of other cultures and how they do things with death and how they face it. It was so interesting to read. I just got so much out of this book. I was thinking about my own death and what I want done with my body and what I want my funeral to be like, and it was just so interesting. There were so many things in here that I wanted to underline or highlight, and I'm not normally one to mark up books, but these types of books that make me think so much, I really do want to do that. But this was a library copy, so I could not. I was holding my hand back. I'm like, no, you can't. So I'm definitely going to be ordering this book at some point this year to have for myself, and I'm going to reread it so I can go back and underline and highlight and write little notes in the margins. And this is just one of those books that really made me want to do that. The only reason why I did not give it 5 stars was because there were some points of the book that just seemed to drag on just a little too much. It was more about the research and things like that. There was a few chapters in there that just did not flow as well as some of the other chapters. But overall, what a fantastic read. I recommend this to everyone. I personally have a fear of death, and this kind of helped me come more to terms with it. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that to happen when I went in reading it, but I don't know. I'm a little bit more comfortable, I have to say, after I finished reading it. So definitely one that I recommend everyone to read. Just so eye-opening. The first line in this book is, "A girl always remembers the first corpse she shaves." So those are the books that I read last week. What I'm currently reading is another Frederick Bachman book. This one is A Man Called Uba. I had to look up the translation, like the pronunciation, not the translation, the pronunciation of this name, because it was driving me nuts. I was going Uv, then I was like, is it Uve? And then I was like, let me just look it up. So I went to the publisher website. They had a video how to pronounce it. And so I checked, and it is Uva. This is a story of a cranky old man, and I'm not very far into it. I've only read 52 pages, but it is so far reminding me so much of the movie Grumpy Old Men. I'm just loving it. I love grumpy characters. Anytime there is a grumpy or cranky kind of character, I am probably going to fall in love with them. When I watch Disney movies, as you know, I'm a Disney movie fanatic, any character that is grumpy but has somewhat a heart of gold, I am head over heels for. If you have seen Finding Dory, there's a character in there named Hank. Love him. I love Donald Duck because he can be crabby. I'm telling you, just anyone that is crabby, that's for me. So I am expecting to love this book. We will see. So far, so good. So those were the books that I read that I'm currently reading. So now on to the ones that I hope to read. Same ones as last week because I still have these out from the library. I need to get these finished because I requested 9 more books from the library, which, yes, I know this is supposed to be the year of reading what's on my shelves, but I'm having a little trouble doing that. So I'm hopefully going to get to at least 1 or 2 more of these books this week. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's kind of shaping up to be an okay week, not too busy, but you never know. Things just kind of pop up. The first of those being The Ask and the Answer by Patrick Ness. This is book 2 in the Chaos Walking trilogy. Really enjoyed the first one, so I'm excited to get to the second one. Also, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I wasn't going to read it, but now I am because someone tagged me to do a tag of it. And then the one I'm most looking forward to probably is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I just know it's so large that it's going to take me forever, but I really want to get to it because I have a couple other fantasy books coming in, hopefully later this week. So definitely going to have to read this very soon. Yeah, but those are all of the books. What did you guys read this week? Did you read anything that you absolutely loved? Did you read anything that you didn't like? Because I like hearing about that too. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week and happy reading.